What's good, friends list, episode 113 of the Gamecast Gamecast coming at you. It's official, Halo Infinite finally has a release date, and it's coming later this year, on December 8th. While the excitement is starting to build around the return of Master Chief, some major features will not be available at its launch, including campaign co-op and Forge. Now, really the question remains, does Halo Infinite need to launch this year? So, this week, we discussed the landscape of 343 Industries' next adventure with Xbox's poster child and what the delay of these features means to the game's state at launch. Will multiplayer still have the ability to completely blossom at launch, especially with the current content creation landscape? Will a Halo campaign feel incomplete without the genre-defining co-op experience? We delve deep on Microsoft's next tentpole title. Also, we get you caught up from all the excitement from Gamescom. The Simpsons Hit and Run gets a full remake in a week's time. Holy crap, that's pretty impressive. And much, much more coming up on the newest jam-packed episode of the Game Pass Gamecast.
Now the fun begins.
Budget.
Stop! You violated the law.
Welcome back to another episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, and, of course, PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversation around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show when they drop each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So, be sure to subscribe to us, rate us, review us, all of that jazz, wherever you get a podcast at, the whole rigmarole I tell you every week. You know it by now, unless you're new, obviously, then ignore me. Listen to all of that. And follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games like, and of course, our dope giveaways, which we have a few maybe in the wings coming up for a certain big game that's coming up that we might talk about today. I don't know. Anyways, though, as always, I'm your host, Travis White, aka Travelus, on most internet platforms. Joining me, as always, my partner in crime, now, let me ask you this, Mike P-Pack, the toy soldier, aka, yada yada, you get that. Before I ask you what you've been playing, Mike, I was gonna make the joke or the simile, like the simile comparison of us being like Goose and Maverick. Be honest now. I don't want you to hold any punches because I can take it. Who would be Goose and who'd be Maverick? I want you to be honest.
I would say, honestly, I would probably be Goose and you would be Maverick, but that's because you pretty much run the show and everything. And then I just kind of have some drop-ins, if you will, with jokes and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And I think that was kind of the system that Goose and Maverick had, right? Like Maverick was cool on his own right, and Goose was cool in his own right, and while Maverick was the head pilot. And, he got himself and Goose into some trouble that maybe other pilots wouldn't. Mm-hmm. Goose was always there to be a dynamite drop-in guy, always make jokes, whenever Val Kilmer and
I was gonna say, where's Val Kilmer playing to this whole situation too?
The haters on the YouTube comments or anywhere else, we have people that make or make comments dumb shit oh, I don't want to be on the inside of your inside jokes. It's I get it. Well, I'm sorry, but it's our show.
Sorry, Val Kilmer.
But no, I would say Maverick, great guy, obviously, incredible pilot, runs the show, does a lot of stuff. But Goose always had those weird dynamite drops-ins where Iceman would come in and make a comment to Maverick, and Maverick really wouldn't comment back, but Goose would have some type of dynamite drop-in. I think that's kind of how that would work out. Mm-hmm. As far as the podcast is concerned. Yeah,
well, that's what I guess. Yeah, I would say probably the opposite or flip-flopped outside of the podcast. But yes, in the podcast, yes, I would say that's probably accurate. Are you excited for the new movie?
Yeah, absolutely. I
haven't seen Top Gun in so long. I need to watch Top Gun again.
I think it's on HBO. It might even be on Amazon Prime. It pops up on my Amazon Fire Stick, so
let's see.
It might be on one of those streaming.
Oh, it's on Stars. So But if you have Hulu Premium, Amazon Premium, whatever, like
Yeah.
I think you get that baked in. That could be wrong, but point being, like, you're able to watch it through Hulu or Prime or whatever via an additional subscription. But yes, but yeah, like, I haven't seen Top Gun in fucking long ass time. But I am excited about the new one. I'm of course going to watch it. I mean,
Right.
you put Tom Cruise in almost anything, I'm probably going to watch it.
Scientology Tom.
Yeah, that's right, Scientology Tom, which always makes me think about the fucking the fucking surveillance cameraman videos of him going into the Scientology building and being like, wait. After they kick him off for the sixth time, he's like, wait, is this the Tom Cruise place? And they're like, yes. No, wait, I do want to stay. Anyways, though, before we fucking derail this thing too much, which we derail it every fucking show, so I shouldn't say that, but if we derail it in a bad way, I guess, let's put it that way. Mike, of course, catch me up on what's going on. What's good? What's going on? And what have you been playing?
Yeah, personally, I've been playing a little bit of Madden 21 just because it's on the Game Pass. I've been enjoying that. Just like not getting super into Madden 21 just because it's a year older or whatever, but just playing a football game for the first time in a very long time. That's probably the newest thing that I've been playing. Outside of that, I've been still playing not as much Valorant as I had been. We had still played a little bit of Bigfoot, but the game that I'm like most eager to get into, and the patch just dropped like now, a little bit ago. So I had some streamers just checking out some of the new updates to Phasmophobia. They just released like a huge update that kind of reworks almost everything that the game offers. So that's something that I'm going to be diving into personally. Very, very soon. Probably when we wrap up the show, I might get in and do a little bit of ghost hunting myself just to enjoy the new update that literally just came out.
No, and I definitely, as soon as you were talking about that, because you're such on the up and up with that game, and not that I'm saying like, oh, I don't care about it or yada yada, but like you have been very much a like beacon of positivity for that game. In and also a rightful critic of it at times as well, but point being, you've been very vocal about that game in general, trying to keep it from being that flash in the pan kind of quick streamer content creator flash in the pan kind of thing that we've seen with a lot of games, from smaller teams like Among Us, like Fall Guys, even Valheim, everything like that. But you've been very vocal about that, and I do want to actually get into or jump back into and check out that update with you, which I'll probably do tonight. Maybe not right after that because I gotta go. Naturally, there's so many like right now. There's like a ton of shitty things going on in my life, not in a way that it's just like unfortunate things like family emergencies and things like that. But naturally too, getting home yesterday from work and therapy and stuff like that, go to turn on my TV broke, so gotta go get a new TV tonight, which I was gonna get probably later this year. I mean, I loved my Sony Bravia. I had the X900E, which I bought right before God of War came out in 2018, I think like a month before that, and played a lot of really fucking good video games on that TV, a lot of good memories. But it kind of sucks. But at the same time, I've been eyeing up an OLED, so I don't know if I'm going to make the jump on that, just because I may try to wait and get a little bit smaller OLED for my office, where I'm going to do a lot of my like Prime gaming from. So I don't know, but yeah, gotta go do that tonight. But after that, yes, I do want to play that. I might play that with you tonight. But anyways, besides that, kind of on my end, kind of jumped a couple different places. Especially in the world of Xbox. I last night only played a few minutes of it, but started up Psychonauts 2. I definitely want to play that. It's been getting a lot of really good reviews. I don't want to say I've never played the first one. I remember playing it when I was younger. I don't think I ever beat it or came back to it, but now as I get older, I appreciate more. As I'm getting older, I appreciate the genius of Tim Schafer more and more as I get older. And Double Fine in general, and just how completely unique and interesting their ideas are for gaming, and what, trying to think how to best explain it, but like just their philosophy behind game design has become such a big thing for me, I guess, as I've been getting older, and just different games they've played, like Monkey Island and Grim Fandango and all these old point and click adventure games that, were, really kind of beacons for narrative adventures back in the day, or bringing, strong narratives to video games in that time. They've kind of transcended, really over the years as this being known for as one of the most creative studios out there. And, now having the financial stability of Microsoft and everything like that, and seeing what Psychonauts is, kind of become, and almost like a little bit of a rebirth that we've seen with 2 after being on the cooker for so long. It's great to see so many, positive responses to it, because, like I said, Tim Schafer and the crew there are just completely, if you ask me, legends of this industry that I think really kind of not fall to the wayside, but they've been such, staples, I guess. And, people know them so well for all of the amazing experiences they put out. And it's just great to see more and more people now having access to that, especially now with Microsoft's financial stability, that they know, hey, we can go out and keep doing more weird stuff. And usually that weird stuff has led to successes for them. So, but yeah, only played a couple minutes of it last night. Looking forward to playing that probably more tonight. And especially too, if I get an OLED TV, I'm really excited to play that on that, because let me tell you, a lot of nice colors on that thing. So I definitely love the art direction with that game. So I'm excited to check that out. But my fiance and I have also been playing 12 Minutes. And that was a game that I was super, super high on heading into. That I've been super high on for a long time, being like, yes, that is an experience I really want to play. I love the concept of having this infinite time loop, finding a way to break out of it, the whole murder mystery that's kind of behind it and everything like that. And we started playing it, and I don't think it's bad by any means, to preface it. I don't think I'm going to continue on with it. I take that back. I'm eventually going to continue on with it, but I kind of put it down, just because, one, Molly wasn't necessarily enjoying it, and it's something that I thought both of us could enjoy. So did she. It just, I don't think it completely clicked for her. And more so, I do love the concept of, like, I personally am one of those people. I love trying to sit there and figure out the puzzle. Okay, like, the loop starts over after whatever it is, 12 minutes after the cop comes in, knocks you out or whatever, and before your wife, says something that could carry on the plot and you hear it. But you're repeating the same 12 minutes. You got to find a specific way to make certain events happen. It's very much butterfly effect kind of things that, I love that idea. The concept of it's great. The writing and everything for it leading up to certain points is great. And I'm one person who hasn't been spoiled by the ending. But there are so many people who have and are like fucking lambasting it, like saying like, this is the worst ending I've ever seen in a video game, or this or that, and it's fucked
That's
up.
saying a lot. Because there's some games out there that...
There's some bad games. I've played some bad games, man. And like, I shouldn't say that. I've played some games that the games themselves weren't bad, but the endings didn't lead. The endings left me wanting more from it, to say the least. I always think of like Outlast 2. Like, man, great game, great atmospheric. The actual like juxt of the game is very fun compared to it's a good evolution from 1 to 2, from a game that I really loved on that. But man, that ending was just fucking weird and just I don't know about that. I think you dropped the ball. But hearing a lot of that, I haven't been spoiled from it. I have an idea of what happens, and yeah, pretty fucked up. But there are people who are also just taking it as, hey, it's a narrative or whatever, and I understand that too. But so I haven't beat that, kind of put that to the side just because Molly necessarily wasn't enjoying it. She's like, I'll be honest, the dialogue's kind of getting really repetitive now, even when we do move on and find a way to get past things. And I don't want to resort to a guide. I'm one of those people that I want to try to figure it out. And yes, I'm a adult at this point. I only have so many, let's put it this way, adult in the legal sense. But I only have so many hours in the day to get stuff done. If I'm stuck on something for a while, I'll pull up a guide just to figure it out, to move on, to enjoy the game that I'm enjoying and not feel like crap about it. But even then I'm like, more so, I don't necessarily want to, use it for this. I want to kind of naturally figure out these things. But, to me, I think it was more so I want us both to enjoy this. So kind of putting it on the back burner for now. I'll eventually probably go back and finish it, and even if it is just pulling up a guide to get through it to actually experience the ending, for me that's fine. I'm okay with that. Outside of that, really from an Xbox end, that's pretty much all I've been playing. PC, obviously, we've been playing a little bit of Bigfoot, but been jumping back into Zombies too. The new map is dope. I really like it. It's been fun to kind of go back and have something like that you can almost, I don't want to say turn your brain off, because it does get pretty intense at points, but where you learn certain strategies with maps, or with these maps again, and certain builds that you're looking for, and this and that, and obviously there's a lot of RNG that goes into it, but at the same time too, it's one of those games that it's not the most serious thing in the world, and it's fun to just kind of turn your brain off and have fun with it, where you're just, I'll have a couple of drinks and chill and hang out with my buddies online tonight and just play some zombies. That's always been the I think such a backbone to that subgenre of horde mode type experiences. So, but yeah, I'm excited to keep going with that. And then, like I said, looking forward to playing more Psychonauts 2. Couple more games that are coming out that obviously, I want to kind of dive into. Some of the games that were announced at Gamescom and things like that from a indie standpoint and on Game Pass and whatnot. But for right now, that's kind of where I'm sitting, at least with Xboxes, and been playing some stuff on my Switch and stuff as well. But kind of sitting on that. But I digress. Mike, let's head into Button Mash to kick off the show. If you're new to the show, Button Mash is where we run through and set the stage for the past week in terms of the world of video games. Get you caught up on all the quick hit news articles for the week and whatnot before we head into our big topics for this week. So, Mike, let's kick off Button Mash, starting with Raven Software has announced that it has rolled out another mass banning wave across Call of Duty Warzone. The studio says that its latest attempt to combat cheaters in the game has resulted in the removal of over 100,000 accounts in a single day. Confirming the news on Twitter, the studio says that it has removed over 100,000 accounts, specifically targeting, quote, repeat offenders and cheat providers at the source. As part of its Gamescom 2021 announcements, NVIDIA announced today that the PC versions of Dying Light 2 and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy will support GPU giants RTX gaming technologies, if I can talk, DLSS and ray tracing, providing better frame rates as well as lifelike lighting, reflections, and shadows. As noted in the press release, Dying Light 2 will use NVIDIA's RTX tech to create, quote, an immersive, visceral experience for players. NVIDIA's DLSS will provide a frame rate boost to the game without compromising the image quality. At the same time, the game's day and night cycle will benefit from ray tracing in a few ways, such as using ray traced global illumination to provide bounced lighting to the entire in-game world. Though the blog post did not go into much detail about how Guardians of the Galaxy will benefit from the RTX tech, NVIDIA did confirm that those that do not own an RTX-powered PC or laptop will have the option to play the RTX enhanced versions of the game via GeForce Now, NVIDIA's cloud gaming service, allowing you to stream the game on a lower-end device. Moving on, Mike, Guy Beam, better known as Dr. Disrespect, as most people know him, was permanently banned from Twitch last June. Now, the streamer is suing Twitch over it. Dr. Disrespect announced the news on his YouTube channel yesterday, according to .esports, and said the reason he's suing the company is because of why he was banned. He didn't quite reveal exactly why he was banned, and Twitch doesn't usually publicize its reasoning for bans like this, but he said, quote, "There's a reason why we're suing the fuck out of them," end quote. Quote, "I can't talk about it, but a lot of people ask me, do you know the reason? Yeah, I do know the reason why now," Dr. Disrespect said. I've known for months now the reason why, and I'll just say right now, champs, there's a reason why we're going to sue the fuck out of them. I don't know how else to put it. The amount of damages, and you just don't, no. The Twitch ban has really, really affected us, not just from a financial standpoint, but from a networking standpoint, he said on YouTube. From all the relationships we've built over the past 5 years in terms of Activision and EA, all the big sponsors and partnerships, they have to question, quote, why did you get banned? He continued and said, whether it's obvious or not, the blacklisting and shadow banning of him is happening. Quote, as well as you think we're doing, and again, I think we're doing well enough, it's extremely disheartening and it's been a roller coaster of emotions and it fucking sucks, says Dr. Disrespect, which I agree with him on that standpoint. Like, I think that was the most frustrating thing out of this whole, like, the whole situation last June was, and really since the whole, and we can wait to talk about this after even, but
yeah,
the whole situation with Twitch, and we're seeing it so much more now, even more so, that they're not transparent at all. And there's a degree to privacy that's understandable, and certain things that happened and whatnot. Like
we can honestly just get into it now, because this is going to be a bigger part of the button mash that like I would have talked about at the end.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'm really going to say about it, and this is what I think the entire community is kind of feeling, is I think whether you're a small-time Twitch streamer, whether you're affiliate or partner, when you're a smaller partner, especially, even when you're an affiliate, you follow these rules that you're afraid to get 3 strikes and you're out, especially when you're a smaller streamer. We constantly see bigger streamers get the benefit of the doubt or get allowed back on the platform. And there's a lot of reasons why. And I think it's really frustrating because, like you said, Twitch just has a lack of transparency about their policies in general. They say what the policy is, but when it's certain people, they seem to go against it. And I'm glad to hear that Doc is taking legal course against them. Not because I am personally a Dr. Disrespect fan and everything, but it's not because of the reason some people might think. It's just because these people need to be held accountable, because some of the bigger partners have there's different partnership deals, especially when you're someone like Ninja, Shroud, you might get more of yourself. But as is, right now, affiliates get 50% of the subs. Subscribers get like $3.50 per sub. And that's a huge chunk of your income when you have thousands of subscribers that goes to Twitch before you even get your ass clapped by taxes, right? So with all that being said, it's time that Twitch is held accountable for their actions. And I'm really excited to see someone take the stand. In this case, it just happens to be someone as big with a big personality as Dr. Disrespect. And we'll see what happens from here. But I think Twitch needs to just do a much better job at handling things fairly. Like, I'm going to use this person as an example, and I'm not going to go into whether I agree or disagree. I think you could probably infer for yourselves how I feel about it. But like someone like Amaranth, or one of those, I guess we'll call them IRL streamers or just chatting streamers who seems to get away with murder and just keep coming back because of the amount of money that they make Twitch. But someone like Dr. Disrespect gets banned permanently, and it's probably because of his personality. He just kind of has a larger than life personality, and he does seem to kind of be the type of person who just doesn't give a fuck, and he's going to call you out on your bullshit. And I think that's one of the reasons why Twitch got rid of him. Now, it could come back to bite them in the ass. We'll see what happens going forward, but I am happy to see someone stand up to them, because it needed to be done. It's long overdue.
Yeah, and that's what, and I think that's what my thing is. And yeah, I mean, I think people are, will have, it's one of those where it's one of those where I'm sure people are going to be upset at, there are people out there. Like, I don't like, there are things about Dr. Disrespect I don't like, but there are a lot of things I do like from him from an entertainment standpoint, because he is wholly unique and wholly, like, he is the embodiment of what, like, entertainment within that platform is. Like, the crossover of esports and entertainment. Like, he's perfectly personifies that, where he's above average at pretty much every game he plays. Like, he is entertaining to watch from that perspective. Plus, he has a good gimmick. Like, the gimmick itself is good. Like, it is not.
Yeah.
Now, you could think whatever you want about, and people need to understand there's a difference between the guy behind, and say whatever you want about the 2-time and joke now about, with, everything he's had in his personal life. But, he seems like a good father. He seems like, you know what I mean? Like, people need to peel the two, they need to understand, for the most part, you're having somebody who is playing a role. Like, it's a gimmick, and it's almost like pro
he's
wrestling.
Someone who, like, he's very self-made, and not to, like, I'm not going to come out here and, like, be a Dr. Disrespect defender or stan. Like, he can do that himself. But I will say, above all, like, his personal life shortcomings, I think, is another perfect example that we see play out in real life all the time, where someone comes from relatively humble beginnings. He was successful, but not famous, for all intents and purposes. The dude's famous. And it's just another perfect example of, like, what happens when a common everyday person who works a job while he was designing multiplayer maps and everything, and he just eventually rose to stardom. And it's obvious, and it shows you, like, how different famous people are, first and foremost, from your common everyday person, which most of the people listening out there probably are. And secondly, it shows you how quickly you can be humbled as someone who is famous, if you will. And it's really a shame what has happened, and it's all his personal actions. And I don't think if you spoke to him behind closed doors and you were on a personal level with him, that he's not just going to want to kill you or fight you if you ask the question. I'm pretty sure he would tell you straight up, like, obviously I fucked up. Like,
right.
I made a bad choice, whether he was drunk or not. That doesn't excuse the behavior.
Right.
And, you know, I think from a humility standpoint, anyone who rose to stardom and had that type of reality check, they know they got too big for their britches and it got to them. And that happens all the time with people. So I think that's the only thing I can really say about Doc, that not to defend his behavior, but it's just another living example of how often and just how common it is for people to just fall from grace like that, if you will.
Right. And no, and I do agree with that. And also I think that goes back to our point of, you know, where I'm more of the, you know, hey, I'm more in the camp of, outside of cancel culture, more, hey, I fucked up. I'm ready to change. I'm ready to grow. Like, I don't want people blown into oblivion and not get the chance. Now, there's some things that are unforgivable, like, you know, rape and, you know, murder and stuff to a degree. Like, yeah, that's, but, you know, some things are a little different. But if we're talking, you know, past mistakes and things like that, that are, you know, nobody necessarily was physically violently hurt or anything like that. Like, you want people to grow from it. You want people to realize, okay, no, that's bad. That was a bad choice. That was this and that. But you know what? It's going to be a growing point for me. It's going to be something that I, you know, pivot from. And this, we want people to be, we always say we want people to be better. That's how it, you know, we want people to be better, but we don't give them the chance to be better. And that's right. That's my thing. But anyways, kind of point being about it, like what I was saying was that, you know, I'm sure people are going to have an issue with maybe the person who's heralding all this, but I think the cause, though, they understand and they agree with, because Twitch is so, like you were saying, the transparency just isn't there. People don't know, oh, they were for violating TOS or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, how would I, like, there's some things, yes, there are certain things that will clearly violate TOS that get your account banned, and you could easily find them and whatnot. But there are a lot of people who are shadow banned and just, I was literally just playing and now I'm banned, and you know, because people, either the algorithm picks up on the amount of somebody got mass reported just as a meme or, you know, trolling or whatever, and now they're banned without any true cause. And yeah, maybe sometimes they're able to get that taken care of, but if that, like you're saying, 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing, like that's a lot harder to come back from. And then what, you got to start again, or if, you know, and that's if you're lucky enough to go and do that. Like, it doesn't that doesn't always fucking work. So,
and you're talking about lots of, not like for Doc especially, like he's 100% right in the terms of the law. Like, you're talking about so much loss and damage in that lawsuit alone. But like you said, it's to the point where, yeah, Twitch isn't transparent, and some people might defend Twitch and say, oh no, like they're kind of clear about what they expect. Like, sure, they are. Yes, I will agree that their TOS is pretty spelled out, and kind of what they're expecting of you is there if you want to see it. But their silence on banning Amaranth for the 65th time for 3 days, or a different streamer, XQC, for the 66th time for 3 days of a ban, like it gets to the point where sometimes when people aren't, when they're not coming out and saying this is why or this is how, people start making inferences about why people are or aren't banned. And it gets to the point where they necessarily don't have to defend themselves. But if they're not defending themselves, it's not the court of law. You're not going to be innocent until proven guilty, Twitch. Like, it's real life society. And if you're silent on something like that, most people realize, or at least start to suspect, like, they know they're guilty. Why are they going to just go ahead and incriminate themselves like that? Or not incriminate as a term, not saying
court of public,
actually breaking the law, but
it's
like
the court of public, that it's like, it's one of those things. And then also too, when you get into the talk of, you know, civil court and things like that, where it's much more, hey, I'm looking for damages and things like that, then it's like, but more so like in the court of public opinion, that's what's a lot sometimes harder. And especially somebody who is very much a public figure, who makes their living off of entertaining thousands of people on a daily basis, you know, having something like that happen, you know, one rumor leads to another, like he was experiencing, oh, it must be so horrible if they're not talking about her and Doc disappeared and this and that, like it must be horrendous.
Yeah.
And you find out
and
that
there were things that like there were things being said about him that were
disgusting.
Like, appalling.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were basically inferring like cancel culture. They're basically inferring that he had to rape someone.
Right.
And it's like that's just straight up, not only is it dangerous if it's not true, but like it winds up clearly not being true.
Right.
And
where
now
he's
you're
now
like
seeking damages because you know what I mean? And also too, that, you know, who knows if any names were actually thrown around or who, you know, it was during all of that or whatnot. I try to put that behind me at this point because it was fucked up. But like at the same time too, like that could also hurt the pseudo victim. There's no victim, but like, you know, if somebody starts making rumors about somebody about that hurts the person that, you know, potentially would have been, you know, supposedly was hurt, who wasn't. Like, then they have their name attached to that. It's just, it all leads back to Twitch just not being necessarily just upfront about stuff. And that's what, it's just frustrating. It's so fucking frustrating that as somebody who wants to support all creators in a way, and I'm talking about like, you know, the quote unquote, like Twitch streamers or whatever you want to say, like, I have no problem with that. Like, I have the people who like meme on that are now memeing. Now, granted, they pulled the rug out on, or peeled back the OnlyFans thing that's going on now. They're like, oh, well, we realize how much money we're going to lose now. But like, I'm very much pro like, hey, sex workers are workers. And like, you know, if that's how somebody wants to make their living or whatever, by all means, hey, go and do it. More power to you. And I'm all for the empowerment of that. But, you know, if you're not going to be clear about the terms of service of why you're specifically getting banned, like if I get banned, I want to know exactly what I do. One, so I don't fucking do it again. More importantly, and especially if I'm a big enough platform or big enough user on the platform, I don't lose out on my fucking income. And two, just for the sole fact of, okay, if it does get into legal issues like that people were inferring with Doc, like, okay, I need to know that. I need to know fucking what's going on and what I'm being accused for. It's just fucking. It's frustrating, to say the least. I do feel for the guy from that standpoint, that it's like, you're one of, and you would think too, Twitch would want to be very vocal about like, listen, we banned you, and like, they have to understand like how much money they're probably making off this guy. It must be like, that was another thing too. Like, people are like, they're clearly making a ton of money off this guy. Like, he's one of their biggest draws. He is one of the faces of Twitch. Like, okay, if he's getting banned, there must be a good reason for it. And then they don't come out and say anything about it. And it's like, okay, well, are you just trying to make a point like, oh, we're sticking to our guns and we're not letting, you know, we're not letting someone being bigger than the platform. Yeah. What is it? The like inmate can't be bigger than the prison or whatever you want to call it. Like, it can't be one of those things where, you know, or the person can't be bigger than the establishment or whatever you want to say. Like, I get that kind of mindset, but at the same time too, like, it's a learning example for Twitch to then be like, okay, if we're going to do that, be transparent about why we're doing that. And this is what happened. You don't have to go into grave details about it if it is, God forbid, something horrific. But at the same time, like, you need to at least be like, hey, he was banned for X, Y, and Z reason of, you know, from, even if it is a very blanket statement, but at least a category. Or at least be very honest of, hey, this was almost like now what you see with a lot of pro sports organizations when they do offer suspensions and things like that, they'll release a video kind of breaking down, hey, this is what happened, this is the reason why we're doing it, whether you agree with it or not, but like, this is exactly what's going on. And sometimes that is applicable, sometimes it isn't, but I think for a lot of bigger cases, yes, it is applicable, and people just want to know, especially smaller content creators and maybe people who are just getting into the partner, you know, program, who are now making this their full-time job. God forbid something happens to them. They just put their 2 weeks in 2 months ago. Like, then they find out, oh, they're shadow banned for some reason. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's frustrating. I feel for them. But anyways, though, Mike, let's move on before we get too long in the tooth, though. EA is making its 5 accessibility-related technology patents, including the ping system from Apex Legends, freely available for use by anyone, even its competitors. In an announcement today, the publisher said it was making a, quote, patents pledge, promising to make 5 of its patents available for free and without repercussions to anyone who wishes to use them indefinitely, as well as future accessible technologies it develops. Effectively, this means any of those 5 patents can be used by other developers, competitors, or others without the worry of being sued by EA. Quote, at Electronic Arts. There we go. That is a little bit of a tongue twister. I'll give myself a little room. At Electronic Arts, our mission is to inspire the world to play, says Chris Bruzzo, EVP of Positive Play, Commercial, and Marketing. We can only make that a reality if our video games are accessible to all players. Our accessibility team has long been committed to breaking down barriers within our video games, but we realize to drive those meaningful change, we need to work together as an industry to do better for our players. We hope developers will make the most of these patents and encourage those who have the resources, innovation, and creativity to do as we have by making their own pledges that put accessibility first. We welcome collaboration with others on how we move the industry forward together, which is awesome because the ping system in Apex is fucking fantastic. Outside of accessibility as well, too. Like, anything that involves, and EA has been very upfront about their accessibility use over. We may bag on EA at times, but they've been very upfront about and forward thinking with their accessibility kind of moving forward. So, it's great to see that tech alone is going to be used for those reasons. But also, too, the ping system in Apex is fucking great. Anyways, though, Assassin's Creed Odyssey will officially get 60 frames per second support on both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S through backwards compatibility yesterday, technically. We're recording this on the 2 days ago. On the 26th, it dropped a couple days ago. So if you want to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey on your next-gen console, you can do so right now and get 60 frames per second, which is dope because that game's dope. Ubisoft shared the news on Twitter, revealing that it will be part of Assassin's Creed Odyssey's title update 1.6.0. This is obviously a welcome addition for those with next-gen consoles, especially as there is no proper PS5 or Series X and S versions of 2018's Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So yes, play that game. It's very dope. Eric Barone, the creator of Stardew Valley, has officially announced the Stardew Valley Cup, meaning that the famed relaxing farm simulator has now become an esport. The Stardew Valley Cup will pit 4 teams against each other: Sandy's Candies, Pierre's Cherries, Pam's Yams, and Crocuses, if I can talk. The 4 teams will compete against one another in the Cup on September 4th, when they will compete in a range of tasks to earn points in a shot at almost $40,000. Here you go, Mike, and Spat will love this one too. A lifelong fan of The Simpsons Hit and Run has he played Road Rage, right?
Yeah, we played Road Rage.
Road Rage, but still, Hit and Run, great game. A lifelong fan of The Simpsons Hit and Run has been taking to remaking the game in Unreal Engine 5, and Joe McGinn, the lead designer on the original title, is impressed by that feat. Ruben Ward, an Unreal developer, has seen recent success on his YouTube channel after remaking the games in Unreal Engine 5. Following a polished-up version of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the developer's latest project features a shiny new remake of The Simpsons Hit and Run. In a comment on the YouTuber's video, lead designer of The Simpsons Hit and Run, Joe McGinn, said, "Amazing what you have accomplished. Really gives you a taste of what a full modern remaster could be. Impressive work. High praise for a project that apparently only took the developer a week." That's crazy. And then finally, ending on a positive note, Mike, Fallout London is a highly anticipated full-scale mod coming to Fallout 4, and its head writer has now been officially hired by Bethesda to design quests. Fallout London aims to turn Fallout 4's Commonwealth into London, and it has been in the works for over 2 years. It was officially unveiled back in June to wide success. Its official reveal trailer has garnered over 2.5 million views. Stephanie Zarakadis, if I think I got that right. There was 2 different names completely, but horrible with names. Was one of the lead writers for the project, but now she's been hired as an new associate quest designer for Bethesda, as reported by Rock Paper Shotgun. Quote, Stephanie has been a pillar of support for the team and has helped create a fantastic and interesting main story and dialogue that we feel you will really enjoy, and we just know she'll be bringing those talents to the writing boards of Bethesda's Todd Howard himself, the Fallout London team said in its announcement. We expect a bright future for her, and we fully give her all of our support. So, Mike, after all of that, anything you want to run back and button match before we head into our main topics for the week?
I would definitely the news about hiring the mod creator for Fallout 4. That's a pretty big deal because sometimes we see mods get cease and desisted, and Bethesda's always been very good at allowing people to mod their games and have some form of creativity. But to see a modder, see them actually hire a modder, that's a really cool idea and a really cool thing to do, because these people are doing it out of passion, and if they're willing to do this all out of passion, imagine what they'll do for you if they're actually on your payroll. Good on Bethesda for just pulling the trigger and hiring them, especially with the hard work that they're doing, and that's terrific to hear that news. I mean, outside of the docs news, that's about all I really want to talk about. I'm just a little confused about the Stardew Valley news. I just don't know that it's really necessary, but I mean, by all means, if you're into Stardew Valley, get it. I don't know, get your bag.
Yeah, hey, that's right, man. If you can make money off it, do it. I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, I know Adam played a ton of that game. I've been getting into it relatively recently, but not a ton. I want to play more of it, and it's funny. I bought it on Steam because it was on sale for like a couple bucks during the Steam sale, and I was like, oh, I'm finally gonna pick this up, and like had a desire to play it on PC, but then somebody had gotten me I think it was Molly actually had gotten me a eShop card for Switch, like a $10 one or something in like a stocking or something at Christmas, and I like saw it sitting there. I'm like, oh yeah, I never did that. And I saw that Stardew Valley was $10 on the eShop. I was like, I feel like I'd get more into the game having it. It's such a very pick up and play type game that like it would favor the Switch, that I'm like, I'd probably play it more doing that. I'll pick it up on there. So I double dipped on the game, and like I'd like to actually sit down and play it more. But I know Adam put like 100 hours into it or something like that. So we'll tell Adam to jump in on that. He can make the bag for us. We'll like sponsor it or whatever. We'll manage it or whatever, and we'll get like a 5% cut. That's all. If it's 40 grand he's winning, it should be winner take all. Like if it's 40 grand or whatever, even if it's 20 grand, get a couple thousand out of it or whatever. Yeah, that's good. I'll take that. Anyways, Mike, let's head into our big topics for this week, because we got a couple big ones. Specifically, one big one that I know is going to cause a little bit of a not discourse between us, but I think it's going to be very, heated to say the least. Maybe not, I think we'll have some opinions to say the least about it. But of course, I'm talking about Halo Infinite. And, on one hand, got some good news. We have an official release date, at least as of right now. And I know Mike will, I'm sure, get into that. But as of right now, we officially have a release date for Halo Infinite, and it is coming December 8th. On a Wednesday, nonetheless, which is kind of odd. You would think it'd be maybe the 10th on a Friday, or even the day before on the 7th on a Tuesday, because that's either... Tuesdays used to be the big media day when everything would come out, but I know stats definitely pointed towards, hey, people get paid on Fridays for the most part, and who are paid bi-weekly, they're getting paid usually on Fridays, and more people are inclined to spend their money on, the weekend and stuff like that. Let's move it to Fridays. I'm sure we'll get more sales, but Wednesday, odd date. But anyways, Halo Infinite will launch on Wednesday, December 8th, in incomplete fashion. This comes from Sam Markovic over on Ars Technica. As always, link in the description. Go over there, give Sam a click. It's official. Halo Infinite will launch on Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and Windows 10 PCs on Wednesday, December 8th. Up until today, the long-awaited game's release has been pegged to a vague holiday 2021 window, but the firm release date slipped out via a Microsoft Store update. The timing was supposed to be confirmed as part of Gamescom's opening night 2021 video presentation, which will begin airing shortly after this article goes live when I pulled it, yada yada. But soon after the store listing went up, The Verge cited a source familiar with Microsoft's plans to confirm the date was accurate. And then obviously, following up with that, Halo Infinite's team lead Joseph Staten confirmed the release date as part of the video presentation at Opening Night Live. So yes, it is official. On that date, the game will arrive as a split package. One half is a standard retail price campaign for the first-person series, in which the Master Chief teams up with a hapless outer space survivor and a memory-wiped version of a popular AI character, Cortana, to land on a wide-open planet and contend with the series' first, quote, open-world arrangement of levels. The other half is an entirely free-to-play versus multiplayer suite of modes that will be supported by a paid battle pass system that developer 343 Industries has described as being made up entirely of cosmetic add-ons, with all modes and levels being free for all players. It's currently unclear whether the paid retail version of the campaign will include any bonuses, cosmetics or otherwise, but for use in the free-to-play multiplayer suite. What's far clearer, unfortunately, is that both packages will launch in incomplete fashion in December. As we learned late last week, the campaign will not include any cooperative options at launch. Instead, the option to play the campaign with friends has been delayed until the game's second season of content, which 343 Industries estimates will arrive about 3 months after the game's launch. And the multiplayer suite's Forge mode, meant to allow players to create their own levels and modes, has been delayed until the game's third season of content, which has been estimated to arrive roughly 6 months after the game's launch. At this time, neither of those delays estimates is firm. The game was originally slated for a holiday 2020 release to align with the launch of the Series X and S, but it was abruptly delayed in August of 2020. 343 Industries insisted as recently as last week that the game is coming out by the end of 2021, quote, hell or high warthog. So this week has been a pretty wild ride for Halo fans, being, between learning about the disappointing news surrounding the delayed launch of both campaign co-op and Forge until Infinite's at least second season of content, to the elation, really, of finally saying, holy fuck, we finally learned after that long, this long-awaited title that's been in, how long? How many years of development, like?
I don't know. I think the kids around town are saying like 6.
6 years? 6 years of development?
6.
Okay. I just want to know. I figured you would probably know. I feel like you've said it a few times.
and how much money have they spent on it?
$1 billion? It's going to be like $1 billion, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, though.
And I predicted that it'd be delayed, and for all intents and purposes, I'm going to take my gold medal now, because even though the multiplayer is supposed to come out hell or high water, they're still delaying over half the game.
Yeah, realistically. But, so at least they're saying that we do have a date now, yada, yada. It's been a wild week for Halo, nonetheless. But while we've very much been in the camp of, hey, take as much time as you need, make the game the best possible iteration it can be of itself possible, this game needs to fucking smash it. It needs to be knocked out of the park kind of thing. But it is nice knowing that the game is indeed almost here. But man, what cost? I mean, I was very much in the camp of hey, no co-op campaign to launch would be a bigger blow than Forge, but that's much more kind of, looking back on reflection of it, a much more personal preference, because I love co-op campaigns so much. I've loved doing that for so long, but with how imperative Forge will be to the growth of this game as a platform they're trying to position it as, like a Destiny, like a Fortnite, having that ability to throw to content creators to be able to say, hey, make your own maps, or make your own arrangements of maps, we want to see crazy race tracks. We want to see, various different types of modes, cops and robbers kind of thing, all kinds of things, prison breakouts, things like that you remember so fondly from Halo 3 on steroids now, that, incorporating that into the lifeblood of the streaming and content creation culture, that is a recipe that could be potentially, be one that could really set you off well. But to not have that at launch, man, I mean, and especially too for Forge being on the third season of content, 6 months out, so really, I guess the question, Mike, so with how important of a pillar Game Pass is to the future of this game from a standalone experience, we're talking multiplayer or campaign, and everything like that, and then the impact, let alone of the free-to-play element of multiplayer. You got to ask, does this December 8th release still feel rushed or forced? Does this just seem like we need to get this out this year? We need to have this. We can't let this game slip into quarter 1 or 2 of next year. We just can't. It has to be our holiday. We have to have a holiday game. It has to be Halo. Does this December 8th release still feel just forced, rushed?
Yeah, I mean, as a competitive player, I'll wear a few hats real quick when I'm giving my breakdown of this news. First and foremost, I'll start off as a competitive Halo player. As someone who was planning on competing in Infinite, I will say it's severely disappointing to hear that Forge is going to be held out of the game for maybe 6 months. And the reason being, some people might say hey, Forge isn't really that big of a deal. Why would that affect you when it comes time to actually play competitive? I feel like one of the biggest things that was bad about Halo 5 is the default maps that came with the game, especially in terms for competitive play. And not having a way to improve that map pool really drove player base down. And there were people who spent a lot of time forging and wound up getting their maps included into official matchmaking by Bungie and by MLG, most notably, and for the longest time, was Onslaught and Amplified, which were both Foundry maps from Halo 3, became like pillars and important parts of Halo esports. Amplified Slayer seemed to always be Game 5 or Game 7. I know Game 5 Slayer is one of the most hyped things in the world, and people might say the spawns are bad. Well, it's a really fast-paced game, and you have to focus on teamwork and calling out spawns and really work those spawn rotations. And Onslaught Flag, another one that was just a huge pillar of competitive play. So without Forge, you're talking about 6 months without customizing maps, changing spawn locations on maps, which was a big part of Halo 3. And even in Reach, Forge maps played a huge role in the competitive scene. So that right away is really frightening to hear, because now granted, I didn't get to play LOL, but I wasn't impressed by the maps that I saw in the technical beta, and I don't think a lot of people were. And that's not to cast shade, that's just to state facts. Like, people that I've spoken to were not that impressed with the maps that were available to them in the technical build. So with all that being said, then you're talking about, like you said, the creativity end of it, where people are just genuinely making fun maps where people get to do all kinds of crazy stuff with their friends. Like, that's a big part of the game that is just being neglected. And I know people are going to say, oh, it's going to come later. If it was ready, it'd come out on time. But at the end of the day, it's been 6 years. How much longer do you really need? And then going forward, we can talk about, just in general, from a person who also started playing Halo in a cooperative setting with Adam, with Halo 1, couch co-op has been one of the biggest reasons why I ever played, well, Gears of War campaign for one, and two, Halo's campaign. It's always been co-op campaign for me. I've never really played through by myself. And waiting 3 months to play co-op campaign is going to be impossible, because people are already spoiling the campaign. So how am I supposed to
You should see my my not my block list, but my filter list on Twitter right now. It's just like infinite spoiler. Anything that relates to like Halo that isn't necessarily, that I know will not complete, because I want to still see discourse about Halo, but like anything that will revolve around infinite spoilers, I have it just fucking axed.
Yeah, and it's because, like, if that's already spoiled, now I'm gonna have to wait 6 months and hopefully not get spoiled for me and my friend who want to play through a new experience. That's kind of rough. So that's really disappointing. And at the end of the day, co-op campaign wasn't present in Halo 5. I know some people will say that, but again, I didn't play the campaign at all in Halo 5 because co-op wasn't an option. And also the storylines just didn't sound that impressive to me. But there not being co-op campaign was one of the deciding factors as to why I didn't bother playing it.
Yeah.
So that's troubling. And then to just go further, just as an overall Halo fan, again, I'm not going to give these guys any pass. They've had 6 years. They've had $1 billion. If you can't make a full game by then, I don't know what to tell you. But I did predict that the game would be delayed and that it wouldn't be releasing this year. So it is kind of nice to be proven right, is as painful as it is, because it's really shitty that that's the case. At the end of the day, I was right. So I'm just going to keep it moving outside of that, and everyone else can enjoy their Halo however they want. But I mean, this is massively disappointing for a lot of people I know.
Yeah, it is disappointing. It's hard to really quantify like how special, like you were saying, co-op campaign is for Halo. Like, when I think of, yes, I have so many fond memories of playing multiplayer Halo. Like, equivalent, I should say. Like, I hold them so fondly together, but it's such different memories that I've had that are so equally important at the same time. Like, just that I have playing both multiplayer and co-op campaign. Like, I remember like 3 o'clock in the morning going through on Halo 3 on the last mission, going through and trying to find the fucking cutout of the developer that's on the back part of the map, like doing the super jump to get across. Like you have to hit it at a perfect angle, and it's just a gif of him in the back, just like in his underwear, just going up and down, up and down. And like I remember doing that with friends, like trying to figure like at 3 a.m, just like, fuck, how do we get it? Yes, somebody did. Okay. Oh my god, it is back here. Like, like just so many fond memories of Halo 1 going through, Halo 2. Like, it's just, when I think, co-op campaign, and, you gotta think too, yeah, back in the day, it was obviously fun playing local multiplayer and everything like that with Halo, but like, that was really your first experience playing Halo for the most part. Yes, jumping in and playing, local multiplayer right after that, but most people's first experience probably playing Halo is, the little brother getting his shit tossed in, local multiplayer, but then sitting down, you and your buddies, let's play through Halo or something like that. It's usually one of your first experiences with Halo, and it's so intimate at the same time. And especially too, once it went online, being able to play co-op campaign online was a game changer. And it's something that I can't wait to go back and do, especially as we get closer to Infinite. Like, I want to do a full playthrough. Obviously, we can only do so much with, certain limitations with certain, a couple of the older games. But once we get to 3 and on, getting to do a full, sweet playthrough of all of the Halo games, I don't know if I'll do 4 or 5 necessarily, but like at least the original trilogy. But to me, that holds such a special place, and to so many people holds such a special place. It's one of those things that, yes, local co-op multiplayer, sure, may not be something that, local co-op isn't necessarily one of the biggest things anymore, because online has kind of replaced that couch co-op experience, and that's okay to a degree. But even then, having the online co-op aspect of it, co-op campaign is so integral to the DNA of Halo, I think, that I put it up there with, local multiplayer. Like, it's so integral to the history of this game that even if it isn't, yes, the biggest contributing factor to Halo's success, it's something that so many people want to experience, both new fans and old fans alike. And especially too, with how many people put emphasis on, partying up with people just to play games anymore, and how easily accessible this game's going to be, whether multiplayer being free to play to begin with, or in this case, campaign being available basically for next to nothing through Game Pass. Like, the barrier to entry with this game is so little that you want people to be able to get in and play this game as much as possible. Like, there's your answer, So it shocks me that something like that you would think is, I'll never say anything with game development is easy by any means. But this is something that I would have thought, for the DNA of this game to begin with, it'd be right there. So it shocks me that it isn't. Now, Forge, though, on the other hand, for this game, the importance that they're putting on this game as a platform. I mean, it's right in the namesake alone, Halo Infinite. This game is being built to be really what I think Bungie, if we're taking a page, keeping it themed within Halo, but Bungie's vision almost for Destiny was that, before Activision said, oh no, they kind of forced their hand, as, and kind of what tore, from what it seems like now, tore Activision and Bungie apart from their partnership with Destiny, was the big, Bungie didn't want to put a 2 on Destiny. They wanted to just they had a 10-year plan. They always talked about the 10-year plan for Destiny, on what Destiny could be and what it could get to, with what we're really seeing now and how positive of an experience Destiny is right now. That them having this mindset of, we don't want to put another number on this. We want this to just be a platform that people grow and play with. Look at a World of Warcraft. Look at, different MMOs. But even so, this being much more of a social experience compared to, an MMORPG. This is an action RPG that is focused around just living and breathing with your friends around there. Not necessarily, hey, I'm going to focus. Yeah, you can focus on, obviously getting the best loot and whatnot in the game, and getting to that end game and grinding and whatnot, and doing raids and doing dungeons and things like that. Yes, that is all part of the experience, but more so, they wanted this game to just be what you wanted it to be. And I think that's what they're wanting and putting so much effort on with Halo to begin with Infinite. I mean, putting it in its namesake alone, being, this is your Halo game for the foreseeable future. This game is going to evolve with you. This game is going to be what from our understanding, at least the messaging that they're wanting, we're as much of the part of the development of this game from the community standpoint as the developers would be. Like they're from what it sounds like, and I think it's come from so many years of, man, 343 can't make a Halo game, or 343 can make a Halo game. It's just their Halo game, and it's not the Halo game people want. Where there's been this yin and yang kind of, oil and water kind of mixture between them, where it's finally starting to break a little, and we're starting to see a mix, and we're starting to see, okay, you know what? We want to listen to you more. We're Halo fans first and foremost. We want you to have the best experience possible, while also making the experience we want. So I think now more than ever between the two. But when you think of what this game is trying to be, like I said, be this experience that you want it to be, where you're going to have a home within Halo's community, no matter what you do with it. Forge is a big fucking part of that. And Forge is going to be a big part of the community driving what this game could be. Specifically, I think from content creation standpoint. So you think of how many, content creators are out there who are to be, where you're going to have a home within Halo's community, no matter what you do with it. Forge is a big fucking part of that. And Forge is going to be a big part of the community driving what this game could be. Specifically, I think from content creation standpoint. So you think of how many, content creators are out there who are hyped on this game to begin with, who traditionally don't play Halo or haven't, who aren't associated with Halo. It's when that tech preview dropped, yes, some old heads and some, I had my complaints about it, don't get me wrong, but I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it and am very excited to play more of it because it just felt fun to play. And rightfully so, some of the players who play this game professionally or the franchise professionally for a long time had much deeper, cruxes with this game to kind of dig at and pick at a little bit. And that's understandable by all means. But at the same time, though, with that being said, Forge is kind of what connects all of those people together. And with what Twitch is trying, or what this game could be on a platform like Twitch, or, YouTube gaming isn't a thing anymore, but live streaming on YouTube or whatever, just content creation and live streaming in general, you see so many, all you hear about is wanting to have these experiences. You look at so many, people who play Fortnite and people who play, custom games on various games. Like, it's built around that cooperative experience of just building and being creative, that you see so many content creators gravitate towards that. And right now, you see so many people. I mean, that's the whole reason why, the original, and granted, didn't pan out, but the acquisition of Ninja and Shroud, and guys like Goliath over on Mixer before it, obviously went defunct, but, bringing content creators in like that to be able to play and push Halo and, the big titles that Microsoft was going to offer, like, it's built around that. And they understand that, yes, like, while there is a paid aspect to Twitch, it's free marketing. I mean, realistically, you get a big streamer playing your game. I mean, you look at so many indie games that have popped up, and games made by small teams that have blown up: Among Us, Valheim, Splitgate, Fall Guys. The list goes on and on and on. That these deals that really kind of sprout from Phasmophobia, that sprout out from success on Twitch. It's usually all built around, like, all you ever hear is so many people, especially like when Fall Guys was on the street. Yo, when can we get customs? When can we get customs? Like, that's what it's built around. Like, having customization with that to be able to entertain. And, like, that's the easiest form of marketing right now is Twitch and live streaming and content creation. Like, working with content creators, it's so easy to do. And a lot of the times it's kind of free. Like, or low, you don't have to pay a ton. Yes, there are some big marketing deals, but, like, point being, it's just getting them to play your game. And if the fucking game's good, they're going to keep playing your fucking game. So give them every reason in the fucking world to play your game. And not having this shit ready at launch is not going to fucking help you. I just can't believe that. I mean, it really, I would think most people know me. Mike, you obviously know how I feel. I'm much more in the, like, hey, I get it. And you are too, don't get me wrong. But, like, much more on I think I'm a little more forgiving, I guess. Let's put it that way. I'm a little more lenient when it comes to things with Halo. But at the same time, like, I think this is kind of where I put my foot down, where it's like, all right, man, listen, I completely understand game development's hard. This is all very hard. But this is also stuff that has been a staple of the Halo experience for a long time. We're not talking about, hey, we're implementing a battle royale into this game and we're trying to figure out how to make that work. No, we're talking about Forge, which has been around since Halo 3, and we're talking about co-op campaign, which has been around since Halo 1. Like, and I'm with you on the, hey, we're talking about how Halo 5 didn't have co-op campaign. Okay, I get that. I understand that. At the same time, they are very much trying to distance themselves to a degree from Halo 5. They're trying to push that to the side and kind of showed, hey, we're looking and we've evolved past that. We took the feedback in on that. You didn't like, you were very vocal about what you didn't like about that experience. We want to make this game, we want to win you back. Okay, well, to a degree, then why did you necessarily take things, or aren't necessarily making sure some of the criticisms that this game did have at launch, did have around it, you would think these would be things that you would have, kind of ready to go and out the gate, hey, we want to make sure we want to tackle that. I don't know, it's just frustrating. It's just so...
And if you're seriously going to delay co-op campaign, I get it. If it's not going to be ready... But if you really wanted to make a statement, say the multiplayer is ready and the campaign is not. We had a creative director change in the middle of the cycle. I know they had all that stuff happen to them. Say, hey, we had these complications. We had to go a different direction. We wound up going a different direction. The campaign's not 100% ready yet. And by all means, I would be like, all right, the campaign's not ready. But if the multiplayer's ready, it's free. Release it. But to me, they're going to release how fucking much are they going to charge for this game? And it's going to be not even fucking done. For people that are actually buying the game. That's the thing that really is weird is if you spend $60 on campaign and that's literally all you get, what's the point? People aren't going to spend $60 on just a campaign. Yeah. If they're actually going to buy it on Steam. And it's on pre-sale for $60 on Steam. And the multiplayer is supposed to be which is it? What lane are you in? You got to pick one here.
Right. No, I know. And that's what's so frustrating about that. It just seems very indecisive at times with it what this game necessarily wants to be at times. I see the vision so clearly at different aspects, but then we see things like this and it's do they have it? Do they really have it? So I still feel very confident about this game. After getting hands-on with this game, playing this game, and feeling, or, seeing what this game could actually do, I still feel very confident about what this game could be and what it, where it can get to. I just think, and like I said, I know game development is hard. It is not easy, and I will never, until I've been through it, I'm not going to say how I think it is or yada yada. From that end, I won't. It just seems like some of these things that were very much going to be pillars of what this experience was going to be and what they were going to make sure they tackled, they kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit with it. And it's it just doesn't completely make sense. And it's just questionable. And I don't know. It sucks too. I'm sure the last thing they want to do is say no, hey, we're doing this out of fun. I'm sure the last thing they ever want to do is not put this out. I'm sure, there's a reason why. And especially too, I give them credit. It takes, that is not an easy fucking thing it definitely is not an easy thing to fucking, announce, knowing how the response you were going to get. So I give them credit for just going up, fucking being straight up about it, being listen, it's not coming. This is why. This is where we're going with it. We're planning to have this one for this. If it gets here earlier than that, boom, we're going to put it out. If not, this is the window that we're putting it at. We're fucking sorry. We want you to have this game. These are the compromises we're going to have to... I'll at least give them credit on that. They're transparent about that. I want the health and safety of this team to be first and foremost, and them not kill themselves over trying to push this game out, because then that falls more on Microsoft than anything to get that out, and I don't agree with that. That if you're going to... I just want this the best version of this game possible, and I know you do too, Mike, and I know everyone does, and it just is frustrating to see things getting hampered, I guess, with this. And it just when it shouldn't be, when it easily couldn't. So I don't know. I'm still very, like I said, I'm still very much positive on this game. I'm excited to play this game. I'm excited to dive into this game. I'm going to throw a ton of time into it. I already know I am. And I will always love Halo. It has a very soft spot in my heart. I will support it in any way I can, to the best of my ability, at least, from at least playing the game, whether I end up not liking it or not, cool. But I'm always going to, I know what Halo once was, and I want nothing more than Halo to get to that relevancy again. And I think it can. This is, at least, they have the ability to with this project. I personally feel so, that they have the ability to make Halo a viable franchise again from a huge mainstream blockbuster standpoint. They just really got to play their cards right, and not launching with two staples within that franchise that your core audience has been asking for, and especially the latter of the two, the Forge mode not being there. It's concerning. So fingers crossed, everything kind of works out. I think it will, but it's definitely a tough pill to swallow. So anyways, Mike, let's move on before we get super long into it. I feel like I've been saying that a lot because we probably are by the end of this, but oh well, fuck it. Gamescom. We got to wrap up all the Gamescom news that came out from the announcements and whatnot from not only Xbox's briefing that they had, but also opening night live, Jeff Keighley's event that he hosts over there. Part of the trifecta that he has throughout the year of Summer Games Fest, his opening, or Summer Games Fest live opening night, or whatever it is, opening night live at Gamescom, and then obviously the Game Awards at the end of the year to cap everything off. His trifecta, this being the middle one of it, and being really the end cap to the summer conference events that we have. And being that, and I always think it's so funny, we've talked about it before, that Gamescom, when people think from a media presence, from at least stateside, or where we're at, E3 is the biggest thing. Like, that is the biggest video game event of the year. No matter the state that E3 is in right now, it's still the biggest video game event of the year. From a digital, even if it is just trailer wise, game reveals, yada yada, things like that, it's still the biggest one. But Gamescom, from an event standpoint on an international level, it is head and shoulders bigger than E3 ever is. And granted, this has been a much more fan-oriented event as well too, past, outside of E3 opening up its gates to fans as well too. But yeah, man, Gamescom is finally wrapped up. So pretty much the summer of gaming is now kind of capped off. And to say that opening night live, I actually really enjoyed. I thought there was a lot of really cool things to see in there, and we'll get into that. But I have to say, it's one of those things, and we're going to talk about it, but a lot of people had some questionable things to say about the Xbox event, and I don't necessarily disagree with them. So why don't we get into it? Let's start off with the Xbox event, since that was about a day beforehand. On Tuesday, that Xbox held their kind of showcase event, and very much felt like an inside Xbox event. Deep dives into a couple of games that we've already seen, some Game Pass announcements, yada yada, stuff like that. So they kicked off Gamescom a little bit early on Tuesday with their own event. The big thing really coming out of this that I took away from this was that Microsoft finally revealed it's official. Yes, they're bringing cloud gaming within, xCloud, that is, to both Xbox One and the Series X and S this holiday, which lets users stream Game Pass titles and whatnot before they download them, which is very big, and they've already kind of officially talked about that, but now they're putting a time frame on it. Now they're actually letting you see some stuff in person and this and that of this stuff working in action, or this tech, I should say, working in action, specifically Xbox One. And this is the big kind of like, okay, this is what's going to carry Xbox One users into the future, at least for a little bit. Some of these, bigger experiences that are going to come out that are eventually going to be Series X and S only options, you could still use your Xbox One as pretty much a streaming device to be able to play this game. So that was really the big thing that I took out of it. Also, too, Forza Horizon 5 was the big kind of one more thing, not really a one more thing reveal, but capped off the show. We already know the landscapes of Forza Horizon 5 will be beautiful, but now we got to see there'll be some cool cars too. So they got to show off a bunch of different cars. That includes the 2021 Bronco Badlands alongside the Mercedes-AMG one for the streets and the other for off-roading. In addition to being in the game, the two vehicles will grace the cover as well. Horizon 5 launches on November 9th on Xbox and PC as well. And also, too, they released a very sick-looking translucent controller that I was a big fan of. I love just even the yellow alone on it. I was hyped at the translucent yellow. You guys know me. Mike knows me. I'm a sucker for not only yellow, but I'm also a sucker for translucent things. Especially, we're talking about that sick, nasty, Atomic Purple N64 controller, one of the best out there ever. So I'm a kid of that era, so I love my translucent controller. So I may be picking that one up. It's very, very tempting. Even if I'm not a big Forza guy, still tempted. Anyways, though, as came the routine pretty much for Microsoft, talking about Game Pass, talking about why this is a good subscription for you to buy or why you should invest your time in it. They also showed off some new titles that are coming to the service, a lot of being from Humble Bundle. Their publishing and Humble Games. A lot of games that they're publishing are going to be coming to Game Pass. We can leave a link to it in the doc if anyone wants to jump into it. But a lot of sweet indie games coming, which is great. And I think that's really one of the biggest benefits of Game Pass is being able to jump into a lot of these indie games that kind of, because search optimization and really getting space within stores, these digital platforms in their stores, like the Microsoft Store, like PSN, Steam specifically, like they get lost in the shuffle a lot, and getting that limelight, having this ability to put them on Game Pass, make sure the developers get a nice fat check to kind of compensate that, but gets their game up in front of people. So that's always been one of my biggest things about Game Pass. But anyways, moving on, Dying Light 2 made another appearance yet again. They got another tech demo that kind of showed off new animations that came out with it. It's kind of the same thing again. Dying Light 2, yet again, still coming December 7th. It's one of those things, I'm ready to just play the game at this point. Like, I don't need to see anymore. But it keeps popping up at like every event. Anyways, though, the team behind the startlingly realistic flight simulator detailed a number of updates coming to the game, which include new racing mode, a series of historic planes, a world update covering Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, and even the addition of electric air taxis that will pave the way for helicopters in the future updates. And then also, too, Mike, I want to throw this in there because it was basically a trebuchet event by this point with Age of Empires 4, because they went into a deep dive on pretty much medieval weaponry, specifically the trebuchets. Things took a turn for the low tech during a segment focused on medieval weaponry. The developers behind strategy sim Age of Empires 4 took some time out to talk about the trebuchet and how it will fit into the game. Age of Empires 4 launches on October 28th on PC, including Game Pass. I know that's a game that you're super hyped on, Mike. I am too. I'm super hyped to jump in on that, but I know you're such an Age of Empires guy that I know that's one that you're banking on jumping in on. But yes,
absolutely.
Trebuchet hype has been going on social media after that. I say that a little sarcastically because as much as I love Age of Empires, that was definitely a lull in the show. Anyways, though, moving on.
They could have done a lot. As someone who's a huge AoE fan, they could have done a lot of different things, but that just wasn't it, Chief.
No, it's hard. I totally agree with the sentiment of RTSs are hard to sometimes showcase to the general public. They are very much it's a very niche genre that talks to a very specific audience. I get that. I totally get that. It's hard to showcase that style of game. But at the same time, there's a better way to show it than just, hey, let's talk about a trebuchet for 20 minutes. And it's like, I mean, cool. Yeah, like I'm all for Mythbusters and stuff like that, but like, I want to see the game. Like I would want to see more so, hey, let's run you through a quick simulation of a game, or hey, let's focus on what changes we're making from 3 to 4 with this specific, specific what's the word I'm looking for? Not race, but you know what I'm talking about. Who you play as. Civilization. That's the word. Spit it out. But like, hey, these are the changes we're making with this civilization. Here's a new civilization that we're focusing on, yada, yada. Like, I'd rather see that. But anyways, though, some highlights from opening night live that I did want to touch on too. Just some of the games that were announced and some other things that come along with that. A game that I'm really hyped on now, Marvel's Midnight Suns. It was a lengthy event, clocking in at nearly a hefty 2 hours, but there was a lot to show, yada yada. But the big one was for me, one of at least the biggest surprises was news that XCOM developer Firaxis, if I say that right, is dabbling in the Marvel universe with Midnight Suns. It's described as a tactical RPG, surprise, surprise, and it will include a brand new customizable superhero design specifically for the game. The studio will show off a gameplay trailer on September 1st, and the game itself is expected to launch next March. It looks really fucking dope, especially if you're a Marvel fan and getting to jump into that, or even if you're just an XCOM fan, like a tactical RPG fan, which I am too. Hell, if you even like Mario plus Rabbids, you're going to like this game. So definitely, keep that on your radar. We touched on Halo already. Outside the news we got from 343 on Halo that we talked about previously, we did get a new cinematic trailer for the first season of multiplayer, which looks fucking dope. That's the one thing. 343 they may have done some questionable things from a gameplay standpoint and different things like that. God, they can make some really good cinematics, and they can make they could sell you the game. They could definitely do you that. But excellent first season trailer focusing on the leader of the academy that's there. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but it's really fucking fantastic. As well as, Mike, the fucking heat, baby, that we saw. Limited edition Xbox Series X for the franchise's 20th anniversary that fucking looks dope. That matte black with the sparkly black top and the gold accents on it. Ooh, real good. But me specifically, the limited edition Halo Infinite specific Elite Series 2 controller, man. If I wouldn't have bought that fucking Series 2 controller, I was going to try yesterday. I kept trying to get it, and it sold out instantly, naturally. Like, everyone was trying to get it. But that thing's fucking hot. It is real hot. And not only does the controller, obviously it is all themed around Halo Infinite and the Master Chief armor. Does that look sick? But the charging dock on it is custom too. And on top of that too, the USB-C cable is themed around Master Chief. Like, I know that's not that crazy of a thing, but it's just fucking sick. Like,
all out customization.
Yeah, like, come on. And finally, I do hope that opens up the door to true, design lab level customization for the series, the Elite controllers too, because they're fucking great. I love my Elite controller. I just wish I wouldn't have bought it knowing that this fucking sucker's coming out there, that sexy thing. Like, God, I want that thing. Anyway, so moving on though. Lego got a ton of new stuff on the Skywalker saga that's coming from Lego Star Wars, which will cover all 9 of the main films. Really cute. I actually think I'm going to jump in on that because I used to love the Lego games and I love the Star Wars. I love the first couple Star Wars ones, and I actually would like to play through that. So that actually might be on my radar, surprisingly. Saints Row is getting a reboot. The open world action series Saints Row is getting rebooted with a new game due out next year. It's simply called Saints Row, and based on what we've seen, it looks just as wild as its predecessors. The game is slated to come out to a huge range of platforms, like we're talking both Sony consoles, all 3 Microsoft consoles, and PC, and I wouldn't be shocked if we end up seeing it on like fucking Stadia if it's still kicking, and Amazon Luna, and a pocket watch, and especially too your like Texas Instruments graphing calculator when it's out on February 25th. Amazon's New World is getting an open beta, which I'm actually excited about because I really wanted to get in there and jump in and try that out. I'm just glad for once I'm glad I don't have a 3090 because I don't want to brick the shit out of that. But Amazon's new MMO New World has been getting a surprising amount of positive feedback based on its closed beta, and soon the game will be much more accessible. Amazon announced that the open beta will kick off on September 9th, so I'm definitely jumping in on checking that out. And finally, Mike, a glimpse at Call of Duty Vanguard's campaign and gameplay was shown. Sledgehammer officially revealed Call of Duty Vanguard last week, or yesterday, I should say. The studio showed off a good chunk of gameplay to give viewers a taste of its more grounded World War II action. You can watch all 9 minutes of it on YouTube or over on the Twitch page for the show and whatnot, and over on Activision's accounts and all of that. Vanguard is slated to launch on November 5th as well. So after all that, Mike, there has been, like I said, some mixed reception overall on the conferences. Specifically, I should say, opening night live was pretty good. I actually did like that. I thought there was a lot of good info to come out of that. I also was fucking marking out on the Halo stuff though to begin with.
Yeah.
But specifically on the Xbox side, we're talking with their standalone event and the level of announcements we got. while I personally think this would have been a great addition of, like I said, inside Xbox, kind of focusing on their magazine style show format that, with more branding of an actual conference, like more so, hey, this is our monthly show that we just bring you in, talk to some developers, give you a deep dive on something. Here's an interesting story that's going on with this game, and this player's doing this and the community's centered around this or whatever, like things like that you would read in a magazine kind of. That's what Inside Xbox is really good at. This felt much more like that. It was interesting to see the decisions that Microsoft did make, though, on what to actually show at their own event versus Opening Night Live, considering they're back-to-back. Sure, Opening Night Live may have a little bit wider of a net to cast, but it's interesting to not want to drive eyeballs to their own platform and own show comparatively. I would think Microsoft would want to control the messaging on their own shows and whatnot to begin with. Why not drive people there? But so, Mike, if any games did stand out to you, what games did stand out to you that kind of got announced? Or, whether we're talking accessories, whether we're talking content updates like that. We got a new Sea of Thieves content update that was also shown. Various things like that. And in all reality, did Microsoft really need to have this press conference after what we've seen in kind of their big fish in Halo's release date and the series limited edition Series X and the Elite 2 controller not being at their own event? Did they really need to have this?
I don't know. It's definitely a question that can be asked. I will say that as a person who was pretty staunch on not getting a Series X, with the news about NHL and with the news about Halo, like the Halo Series X, I was a little bit more open to getting a Series X. Of course, it's literally fucking impossible. It's going to be fucking impossible to get one. So if I can get one, I'll definitely be getting a Halo Series X. But I don't know. This was a interesting time because you did get to see a lot of information. You got to see the Halo information, which I think obviously was the biggest deal. Even though like it's announced that it's being delayed and things of that nature, I still feel like it was a huge deal that Halo was talked about. And I feel like that was still the center point of their entire presentation. But I will say, like, getting to see some extra stuff in there was pretty neat. Obviously I would have loved to see a little bit more than a trebuchet for AoE 4. But I will say it is a little disappointing and it is a little bit light of a presentation. Got to see some information about Call of Duty, which I think some people were excited for, and I know kind of a lot of people that are into the Call of Duty franchise might have been a little critical of and aren't looking forward to. I've already said that I'm looking forward to it. I would just love to. I'd love there to be a little bit more communication about the Series X's because it's no secret that scalpers are a big deal. Whether it goes with graphics cards and other things of that nature or just consoles in general, we've known that this has been a problem. So I would love to see Microsoft take a better stance on how people who actually want this console can get their hands on it without getting gouged for price. That would be something that I would love to see going forward. Obviously, that's a huge wish because they haven't done it yet, and they don't care because they're making their money, and they don't care that people are getting owned on the secondhand like purchases of it. But overall, I am excited a little bit that we at least got the Halo news because even though it's probably not that relevant because ultimately it doesn't matter because it has nothing to do with the game. Tashi did come out and make a tweet about Halo esports going forward, saying that, they did have a first venue booked with the esports engine, the whole time, like they've had it booked. So curious to see when the tournament will be because I was expecting it to be before the new year. Clearly that's not going to happen. And I'm also a little bit interested to see what they're going to do because quite frankly, coronavirus is still a thing, unfortunately, and it seems like the winter's probably going to be worse for it. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear that the first tournament's going to be online, even though they said it's going to be a LAN tournament. So we'll see what comes of that. But that's the biggest thing for me is just finally hearing like what the information on it's going to be and what we're gonna get from Halo from an esports aspect, at least for me. And I know a lot of the listeners might not really care, But that's what I'm most looking forward to, like what's coming next from that.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And the thing is that I don't think that the information was bad necessarily, that they gave us, like specifically from looking at it from Xbox's end. I don't think the information that they gave us was bad by any means.
No.
And they, to be fair, to a degree, they told us, hey, temper expectations from the standpoint of, hey, we're going to be focusing on the second, games releasing in the second half of the year of 2021. Like these are our final games that we're talking, like we're talking about games that have already been announced and are launching later this year. Like from that standpoint, they were to expect, hey, don't expect a Fable, don't expect a Perfect Dark, probably don't expect a Avowed, don't expect, some of these, pipeline games that are coming. And everyone expected, okay, cool, we're going to see Forza 5. But I think a lot of people did expect outside of, and we knew that it was probably going to get announced this weekend at one of these events, but I think a lot of people did expect, okay, well, if you're Microsoft and you're talking about, you're focusing, hey, second half of the year, we're talking about all the games that are coming second half of the year already been announced. I mean, you got two big games that are coming out. One, I think, a little bit bigger in terms of this needs, I think needs I don't want to say propped up. This needs shown. I think people understand what they're getting with Forza in a good way already. Don't get me wrong. In Playground's fucking incredible. But in a good way, they already know what they're getting, where you need a lot more emphasis on Halo Infinite for a lot of reasons to make sure this game succeeds. I think you need to be upfront in talking about this game 24/7, if you ask me. And 343 does for a decent part. They do talk about the game a lot, but more so at every event you can, making sure this game's, hey, putting this game on people's radars, to my standpoint at least. To not have your flagship franchise and the biggest game of the year for Microsoft not be at your own event is a little weird to me. I understand, like I said, opening night live probably casts a wider net. I get that. Jeff Keighley's awesome. I'm sure he wanted it. So sure, if he's probably either busting out a checkbook or whatever, like however it works, I'm sure it made sense for them to put that there. But to me, this game or Xbox's conference, if you're not going to do it as an inside Xbox, branded as an inside Xbox to know what people are getting, this event very much felt like an email to me.
Yeah, it was like kind of redundant, right?
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, where this very much felt like I open up our the show's email account and I look in there and it's a ton of press releases for games.
Yep.
Like I look through, we get, I'll open up our email account and it'll just be, hey, we're on Microsoft's mailing list for press releases and stuff like that. Hey, here's the press release on X, Y, and Z game we're talking about. Hey, here's from various indie publishers that we work with, we'll get codes from and things like that we're getting, things from them. Valve will send us stuff from, and this is a little more inside baseball, I guess, but like different press releases and stuff that we're getting. It felt very much like that, where I think that would have sufficed to a degree if it wasn't presented as, I think it was just a little mismanaged from the branding of this. I think, like I said, if it would have been an inside Xbox event, would have been much more, I think people would have been much more, okay, this makes sense. We know what we're getting from this. Not, hey, this is an event this is an actual showcase that we're getting. This is a Gamescom showcase, like, not completely, positioned as the same as, an E3 press conference, but I think I think they positioned it much more, with more importance than an inside Xbox, and I just don't think we got that. I would have liked to see, hey, even if we're not talking about, if we're talking about games that are releasing this year, cool. Let's focus on, I want to see maybe, a deal with, that I keep hoping that we're going to see, a deal with EA for Battlefield. EA Play coming out and whatnot. I want to see Battlefield launch day and date, or, at least the base version of that, or something like that. Or, hey, if you're a Game Pass Ultimate member, even though you have EA Play already, you get X, Y, and Z with this game. Like, I want to see those kind of experiences more so. I think that gets me more excited about stuff than, or hey, if you're focusing on Game Pass, cool. Let's talk about Game Pass. We want to talk about all the games that are coming this year, not, and I'm glad they did focus on Humble games coming because I like a lot of games that Humble does publish. But, you know, let's talk about a couple of other indie games that are coming there too. So I did think we got some good stuff. I think it was just branded wrong. Outside of that, with opening night live, obviously for me, being the big thing, the Halo info we got, but also too the Series X and that controller were the two big things that came out of that for me. But for once, I actually might be interested in a Saints Row game. I've never been fucking interested in a Saints Row, and that's no offense to anybody who's ever worked on a Saints Row game by any means, or anybody who likes those games. That is no disrespect to you at all. They've just never seen. It always reminded me of the cheap. I don't want to say that, but like it's always reminded me of when the race to put out the next GTA was coming out, where so many publishers were saying we need to have something that competes with GTA. That to me was Saints Row. It was always GTA Lite to a degree. And then they finally started to find their own footing and stuff as they went further with Saints Row 2 and specifically 3 and got wacky with it. I hear so many people talk fondly about that seeing this though now and seeing the cartoonish kind of satirical like approach to this game to me makes me want to try this game a little bit more. It seems more grounded, but also, you know, not afraid to laugh at itself a little bit. So I'm excited to kind of get in and try that out. And obviously, too, like I was saying, New World, I'm not the biggest MMO guy, but it seems like I'm all for... There's a reason why World of Warcraft's so beloved to a degree, and I completely respect that. But I'm also I'm ready to see the MMO genre be pushed a little bit. I'm glad that we're seeing Final Fantasy 14 really kind of, you know, fucking take some of World of Warcraft's cake, to say the least, where it's outperforming it in, you know, stream numbers and stuff like that. A lot of time, you know, there's a good chance at times they're going to be neck and neck with streaming numbers and whatnot. Like, I'm glad to see that the popularity of Final Fantasy 14 has really taken off again. But I want pressure put on that because that's going to make World of Warcraft better. That's going to make Final Fantasy 14 better, and that's going to make a better game out of New World eventually. So I want more community-driven games like that to be there to push that medium, push the MMO medium. So, anyways, Mike, I think that's going to do it for our episode this week. But before we do that, let's end the party chat. If you're new to the show, party chat's where we post one question at the end of each week, at the end of the show, that we want to just discuss with you. Could be as simple as what's your favorite story be in a game, what you've been playing during the shitty quarantine and, you know, pandemic and all that, or it could be a little more in depth as to, you know, what games are great for improving mental health with video games and, you know, driving that conversation. And after answering it ourselves, we'll kick it over to you to tweet your responses to the question over on our Twitter at GPGC Podcast, or email us as well over at bonusaccessory@gmail.com, and we'll read some of them the following week. Last week's question: does Microsoft need huge sales numbers from Halo Infinite for this holiday, or does Game Pass mitigate that need? And Carlos KJ9 over on Twitter says, no, because of its split nature between campaign and multiplayer being free to play. They just want people going to the service to play the game, not just buy the game. Interesting. So, Mike, this question I was thinking about for this week, I started playing Sonic Mania, and you know me, I'm not the biggest Sonic guy. Wasn't a Sega kid growing up, I was a Nintendo kid, but still have an appreciation for Sonic. Started playing Sonic Mania a little bit last night, having a blast with it, being like, I forgot how fucking great this game is. This was like one of the best games of 2017, but 2017 was just, had banger after banger after banger. It just fell to the wayside. But a question kind of popped into my mind. Which franchise's fans have been shafted more? Splinter Cell or Sonic the Hedgehog? Huh. Now I want you to think about, yes, Splinter Cell, the majority of the games that have come out, been fucking fantastic. Been great, really good games. But we haven't had one in forever. And also, too, it's at a fervor for, like, at this point, like, people just know it's a meme that they're never getting another Splinter Cell game, or they fear they're never going to get another Splinter Cell game because they're just, Sam Fisher's just hoard out at this point, if we're being honest. But on the flip side of that, Sonic the Hedgehog gets a new fucking game every 6 months, it seems like, and they range drastically from, hey, this is good, like a Sonic Mania, which is fucking fantastic, incredible, to, like, you know, the Sonic Unleashed with a werewolf, or Sonic Heroes, or, you know, there's just so many that were just bleh. you'll get like one out of every couple. So I guess it's one of those things. It's like quality versus quantity, but at the same time, like you kind of get dicked around with Splinter Cell. Never get, Sam Fisher never seeming like he's getting his own video game, but he'll be in everybody else's game and in mobile games and shit like that, but not get his own goddamn game. Or you could have Sonic the Hedgehog, who like every like 1 out of every 7 games is decent.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm gonna say I know what you're gonna go with, so that's not the reason why I'm gonna go with this game.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that Sonic the Hedgehog's fans, because they basically, like, the developers just went away from like the formula.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been some stinker Mario games, but they always kind of have gone back to a 2D nature.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just something
and
that I feel like
there's also, even if it doesn't necessarily stick what people want, there's always a very good quality to the Mario games. Like there's always a very high quality polish to them that you're at least getting a very well made video game. Might not be the best, might not be the game that you want out of it, and it might not be the game that anybody wants out of it necessarily, but the game's well made at least.
Yeah, and I will say that, like, I'm not including like Mario Kart and stuff like that in this when I talk about Mario games. I'm talking about like Mario proper universe games.
Right.
Which I guess you could say like Mario Golf and that is, but still. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Sonic just because I feel like they've just released so many like poopy games that like it's almost like a betrayal type thing.
Right. And I think I'm gonna say the same, because the sole fact is, like I said, Splinter Cell as a franchise, those games, yes, are all of them 10 out of 10? No. But they're all pretty damn well made games. Have we gotten one in almost 10 years? No. But you can still, those games do hold up. Like, I went back and played the first Splinter Cell, didn't finish it, but went back and was playing the first Splinter Cell like maybe 2 months ago, something like that. And it was fucking great. Like, I was having a great time. I can't say the same if I'd go back and play Sonic Heroes. Like, I'd probably want to do anything else, stick sharp things underneath my fingernails, you name it. But I would have to say Sonic for the sole fact of, like I said, it took me forever to just like remember how great Sonic Mania was, because then right after that there were Sonic Forces and nobody fucking liked that. And, it just, to me, there's just no, like, I would much rather go back and play, yes, there's the adage that you hear now with how many games come out and whatnot now, that old game is old, but at the same time, I'd rather go back and play a fucking fantastic old game if, compared to, that I only get maybe one every 10 years even, when it breaks down to it by now, compared to going back and, yeah, I'm getting a new Sonic game every, like, couple weeks, but what's the quality like? So, but it's crazy because it's funny to think about, because I would have thought that the fervor for Sonic would have fell off by now, but people keep fucking buying it. They keep buying these games. There's a reason why they keep making them. It's money, because they keep fucking buying them. I don't know. Anyways, though, Mike, I think that's going to do it for episode this week. Why don't you tell people where they can find you on the interwebs, talk about all the stuff we talked about. Could be Halo Infinite, of course, the big cheddar that's out there that's coming in, up soon. But tell me, where can people find you to talk about all the video game stuff we talked about today?
You can find me on Twitter at TOYSXLDIER. That's Toy Soldier, and the second O is an X. Or you can find me at Twitch at MP_Toy Soldier.
Nice. And as always, I'm your host, Travis White, aka Travelus, on most internet platforms, including at Travelus_ on Twitter. You can find me over there at TRAVLESS_. Yeah, I got that right. This is the first time I think I fucked that up ever. It's like muscle memory at this point. But anyways, you can find me over on Twitter at Travelus_. That's TRAVLESS_. You can also find me streaming time to time on twitch.tv/Travelus_, same as Twitter. And you want to play some video games with me over on Xbox Live, you can do so at just regular old Travelus. That's TRAVLESS, no underscore. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has been the newest episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, and of course, PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversations around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show when they drop each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So be sure to subscribe to us, rate us, review us, all that jazz wherever you get a podcast at, and follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games like, and our dope giveaways. Well, Mike, I think that's going to do it for our episode this week. Thank you everyone so much for listening, sharing, and being a part of our growing community. Game on, wash your hands, listen to the doctors, Black Lives Matter, and we will see you next week.